For some famous small-town bands or influential artists, such as Kurt Cobain or Jimi Hendrix, the inspiration used to create music often stems from the tendencies developed as a child. Danny Botkin, lead singer, songwriter, and graphic designer for Runaway Symphony, shares the development of his characteristics as a creative artist and how he embraces his talent.
My name is Daniel. I grew up in a little town in North Idaho called Bonners Ferry. I lived there from the ages of 10 till 17 when I moved out. Then grew up mostly in North Idaho on a farm. We have about 50 acres of alfalfa.
I think the big dynamic in Daniel's family when he was growing up was that he had 4 siblings. They grew up without a television, but they grew up almost entirely without that bombardment that you get from modern culture, advertisements and popular films, movies, television shows.
I was homeschooled, so I was kind of a loner growing up. I didn't have a lot of friends.
And there were not a lot of musical influences in the house except for some of the old classical tapes we had, a few folk tapes that we had.
I've always enjoyed music. I never thought I would really be very good at it just because I never learned growing up or whatever. I'm kind of an introvert, and so when I was younger living in my parents' house, if there was stress going on in the house or whatever and everyone was being really loud, I would usually escape to my room and either draw pictures or make stupid sounds on this $50 Casio keyboard that we had. But it wasn't really music, but I've always loved experimenting with sounds. For me, drawing and art and music has always kind of been an escape.
You never knew what he was thinking, what was going on in his head because it was all quiet. And even when we were doing schoolwork, you'd have to get in his face because he kind of had an ADD thing going on and probably 10 or 20 things going on in his mind at any one time.
As Danny aged and began to channel his intricate thoughts, he realized that he could soon take advantage of his cognitive abilities by attending the University of Idaho.
When I moved to college, when I came down here to Moscow, I was 17 and my dad bought me a guitar, which is a guitar that I play. It's this Martin here.
About 2 or 3 years into it, he was starting to form his own style and his own, some very creative things that I was encouraged by. And I remember talking to him at that point and saying, if you're going to do this, we need to do it right, get you the right tools.
And so I just, was trying to learn chords and whatever. I had this chord chart and was figuring it all out. It was also at a time where I felt pretty lonely because I had just moved out and was kind of on my own for the first time. And so I was writing kind of these sad songs and figuring out how to write songs.
A lot of those mysterious moments when you wondered what was going on in his head, a lot of that was artistic, creative, putting things together, working on 10 or 20 different things at once. Some of it music, some of it engineering, some of it sports. But that's the nature of his mind, a lot of different things happening at once.
It was really cool for me discovering that and realizing that I could, play music, I guess.
After developing a musical foundation for himself, Danny linked up with a friend from college who shared the same vision when producing music.
But me, Danny, and Jason wanted to do music, and it was definitely something that we loved to do, so we decided that we wanted to form a new band. And so we decided to form a band called Runaway Symphony, and it was a 3-piece. It was fun because we were able to kind of incorporate all our tastes. I really like Sigur Rós, ambient kind of music that has textures and all kinds of stuff. Danny really liked folk music. Jason liked alternative music. And it was just cool to be able to really get together and actually, play to our strengths. And so we just started a new band and were able to do that.
He was in his first year or 2 in college, and of course we didn't want a lot of things distracting from that. I always thought he'd be good at engineering or mechanical design or something. The few times we did interact, I think I encouraged him to be true to those artistic tendencies and creative tendencies that he had as an individual and not to sell out to what was popular. So to the extent that I had any influence at all at that point, I think it was that he had artistry inside that was unique and superior to anything that he would mimic or copy from modern culture. And that if he could be true to that, whether he had one listener or a million listeners, it would be worthwhile.
I know for me personally, I feel like I'm a different person than I was about 3 years ago when we started. And I've seen a lot of growth in the guys in the band as well. Musically, we've grown a ton. We joke that we kind of went through musical puberty after our EP, and I think we all wanted to make music that was more dynamic and that was more suited to our strengths, which are textures and rhythms and lyrics. And so we wanted to make music that made those things stand out. So I think we've grown in that we are making music that suits our taste better and that suits our strengths better.
These men in the band developed together. I was surprised at times at some of the power and the poignancy that came out of what they were doing. That's been a surprise. Daniel surprises me in a lot of ways, not just his music, but his writing, his commentary on life, the things you see day to day, and the way he relates to his friends and his siblings.
Chris and Danny would eventually form a 5-piece group, which provided for a new level of sound improvement. Their current project, Running South, is the combined accumulation of sound and truly artistic concepts.
I think we've always wanted, as far as musically, we've always wanted to reach a lot of people and to offer people music that is an alternative to kind of what pop music is today. Music that has genuine content and that's that we think is well thought out and is well made.
For me, it's like I want to be able to reach the people with our music that I really want to hear it. And like, you know, you could talk about getting big. You can talk about, you know, I want to go to Nashville, or you can go to LA. But honestly, I want to be able to reach people that need to hear what we have to say.
Although Danny didn't have a very influential music background, he seems to have discovered a unique aspect of himself when constructing the album, allowing for a sense of deeper meaning.
I think the way that I discovered music was a lot like kids learn how to talk. It was just through a lot of just experimentation and discovery. So it was very much about discovering that new language and figuring out how you can use it for expression. I think it just makes me feel more alive, and that sounds kind of cliche, but it's like I'm doing something that I was made to do.